The Alan Titchmarsh Show's back today at 3 with a live performance from Britain's Got Talent winners Calabro. Plus, he'll be getting his just desserts when he tucks into some perfect puds. All that on the way, but for now, time to welcome back the Loose Women.
Oh, is that him?
Who?
You know, he was in that film.
Which one?
The one with the car chase. What's her face was in it too?
Oh, yeah, that one. No, that's not him.
Loose Women, sponsored by Tombola.
Hello, welcome back to the show. Can we welcome our next guest to the panel, the Secretary of Education, Justine Greening. Justine, welcome to the show. Today's topic is the impacts of immigration on education. It's been reported that there was 25,000 new school-age immigrants in 2016, which means predicted demand of 27 secondary schools and 100 primary schools, which means it's going to be a predicted cost of 100 billion by 2020. So where does that leave today's education?
Well, I mean, £100 billion, that is huge financial implications for the UK. And I think it's a lot greater than just building new schools to accommodate for the immigrants. I think you've got to think of additional staff. You're going to need TAs for bigger class sizes, you're going to need specialist EAL staff, and you're going to need training costs so that the staff are well efficient and effective in delivering the teaching practice to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are even more implications either way, as if there are no additional staff to help the teachers, then it's more stress for the teachers, and in reality they're not getting paid enough as it is. They should be getting paid more for what they're doing, and with the more stress that they're getting, I do think that they should get more money for their job.
As our expert, Justine, what do you think?
Well, education should receive a bigger share of the budget in the UK this year.
But they haven't been though, have they? Like in 2010, they actually peaked at 5.79%, and then in 2016 they got 4.5%. And it's expected by 2020 that they're only actually going to get 4% of the budget.
Well, yes, these figures are actually accurate. However, they represent the total amount available from the budget, not the amount that will be received.
Yeah, well, like you said, this year we'll be getting a bigger funding. Is that due to an influx of immigrants? And do you believe this funding is sufficient to cover the cost of building new schools, training staff and additional staff?
Well, it's an overall projection really. Many things will be taken into consideration before this final figure has been reached.
So as Kate has already touched on the impact on teachers, we're going to take a call now from Mrs Delaney, a head teacher from a primary school in London. Hello, Mrs Delaney.
Hello. My teachers haven't received any EAL training, and therefore they are struggling with the EAL children that have arrived in their classes. We as schools are finding it really hard to provide this training due to reduced funding from the government.
I agree with Julie on the phone. I think we need to put this back to the government, and you need to address the current teacher training programmes in England, as they need to include EAL modules so that teachers aren't going into the classroom unprepared with the rise of immigrants that are coming in.
Well, teacher training is receiving more funding than ever, with a substantial amount going to bursaries and scholarships and of course student loans. Continual professional development should be high on every school's agenda, regardless of the issues. Then there is huge benefits to be had from schools joining clusters to minimise the costs. And let's not forget the £466 per pupil per year for each EAL student to help with funding.
I mean, that pupil premium is a great benefit for our schools, but I'm specifically thinking about the teacher training. You're discussing what teachers can get on training as regards to student loans and bursaries, but I'm talking about the content of the training. There should be a module alongside maths and English and SEN that prepares them for the children that they'll be facing in classrooms now.
Well, training is continually developing to suit the needs of the pupils in the country. I think you will find over the next few years, few months, that the modules for specifically teaching immigrant and EAL children are coming through in the university curriculums.
So as Secretary of Education, it's saying it's something that's being implemented and we will see you soon in education?
Yes, definitely.
Wow, cool.
I do agree. However, these EAL children that we are getting can be really difficult to assess due to the language barriers and a lack of their prior knowledge, leading to me as a head teacher struggling to monitor the progress of the school as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, teachers are leaving the profession due to stress. One area being assessment. Teachers are expected to be able to assess children with EAL against the same statutory requirements as for children with English as a first language. How is that even possible? They're going to be at different stages. How can you assess a child with no prior knowledge to their background and against the same requirements as children with English as a first language?
Well, there are many assessment programmes that are available and many of them are free of charge. For example, on the NALDIC website. And let's not forget, this goes back to continual professional development for teachers. You will always have pupils that you will need to assess, whether they are EAL or special educational needs.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney, for your input. We're going to go over to our Twitter feed now, see what you guys have been saying at home.
Yeah, I have Carol, at Carol123. She says, I have lived in my local area for over 15 years, yet my children have been refused admission into the local school due to an oversubscription resulting from an over-influx of immigration children.
Oh dear. And I have a teaching assistant at ANZ 1810. As a current teaching assistant, my role was group work to advance children and narrow the gaps, or supporting the whole class. Yet now my role is to only support the EAL pupils.
Yeah, so it's a change.
Well, I mean, ladies, as parents of pupils, primary school children yourselves, have you noticed any impact on their learning?
Yeah, I actually think it's a positive thing. My children come home from school and they have only positive things to say about the other children in the class that don't speak their language. They come from a country that's probably not as rich in education, so they come and they want to learn. And that makes an impact on the rest of the class as well. They've got a high regard for education and respect for their teachers.
Well, current educational research has actually shown that schools with high numbers of pupils that speak English as an additional language, they have raised standards in attainment.
I think we'll throw it over to a parent now. We've got Julie on the phone from Yorkshire, who's the parent of a child in primary school. What's your views, Julie?
Hello ladies. A significant number of non-English speaking children at my son's school has put pressure on local educational authorities, resulting in reduced performance for all children to budget cost cuts in resources.
Yeah, well, I've got some more information from Wilson and MP in education. He rubbish claims that British children have suffered as a result of immigration. Personally, as you know ladies, I'm from in London city, so my children in their school is over, I think there's 10 different languages within my son's class. But I see it as a positive because my children are curious and it supports the cultural attitudes because they're adapting and they're learning about different cultures and understanding it better, so it reduces racism and bullying. So I see it as a good thing.
And this is exactly what the national curriculum promotes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a class teacher onto our Twitter feed, and it's Mrs. Doubtfire, at Mrs. Doubtfire. The children of immigrants are polite, highly motivated and desperate for an education. In other words, they are a joy to have in the classroom. In fact, I have found that the arrival of an immigrant child often acts as a spur to the whole class.
Yeah, so I think from the impact of learning, there is positives. As you said, the research backs up that it's raising standards and it helps. I think for teachers, it's where it needs to be addressed more so that they're supported properly, so they're not stressed in their job, and that they can do the best job. And obviously there is funding, we've seen there's funding implications, but I think if we sorted those out, education is centred for the children, and it seems to be working well for the children overall.
Right, Liz, I'm going to have to wind it down there. Thank you so much for your viewpoints. Thank you, Julie. After the break, we'll be debating the very serious subject of how do you cut your toast.
So, time to have it all.
Toast. That's my name.
Yeah.
Well,